welcome to another episode of the JBK Show. I've got Nick beside me, and on today's episode, we've got a great guest, Parramatta great, fellow seater, first Lebanese guest of the show.
Very exciting.
Wow.
Tim Mannah.
Wow, what an honour.
Prestigious title.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Tim Mannah, prestigious rugby league career, long career. You're only 35, Tim. How has retirement been?
Well, I'm 30. My body feels 53.
Okay.
So,
Well, you're in the front row.
Yeah. No. Honestly, I'm good. I'm knocking on wood. The body's good.
That's old Lebanese back.
You're looking great. You
Yeah.
look like you still keep yourself in good nick.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I still exercise, but I eat like an idiot though. So I have to keep exercising, else I'll be 140 kilos. Transition's been good, mate. Honestly, it's been a really smooth transition. I'm really lucky. Like I know it's not always the case for athletes stepping into the next chapter of their life, but I couldn't have asked for a better transition.
What do you attribute that to? Because I know NRL put a lot of programs in place for players to move on to things outside of rugby league, whether it's getting them into TAFE or starting a university course. A lot of players are starting to do that now. Were you kind of looking past your career from an early age?
Yeah, and that comes back to Lebo parents.
Yeah.
So my parents, straight from the day I finished school, I enrolled into my degree. I did a business degree. It was a 3-year degree. It took me 10 years to finish. Got chipped away through.
I mean, you were playing rugby league.
Yeah,
So
well,
when I started that class, I'd sit in the classroom and there'd be like an old guy in the corner. I'm like, what's this old bloke doing here? Like, and then eventually I was sitting in the class one day, like years later, I was looking around like, where is it? Like, who's that old? And that's me. I'm the weird old
You're
guy.
the mature age student, 10 years old.
So I got it done, and then when I finished that, I did a business degree, then I did my financial planning diploma, I got my real estate license. I did a TV presenting course at NIDA, which was interesting. And I was always prepared for that next chapter. The last 3 years of my career, the club was training me in partnerships. So I'd spend a day a week working with the partnerships team, understanding the corporate commercial side of sport, thinking I was going to do that for the next 30 years. I retired, took up that role, and within 6 months, one of my clients, I pitched to him an opportunity on the jersey, which is a lending association. I'm on the Parra jersey now. He signed for 5 years, and the next day he said, "Come meet with your boss." We met. He said, "I want to start something with you," and it was a really good opportunity. I just took it up, and away I went.
That's awesome. Never know where it's going to lead you.
Now, you're in the partnerships team. What's it like being in a rugby league partnerships team? Is there a lot of fake smiles and trying to get sponsors on board? Every club has them nowadays. It's keeping the sponsors happy. What's it like?
Well, I was only there for 6 months, and it was when I was recently retired. So it was easy for me because a lot of the partners are fans. So it's a lot of people just want to hang out with you or see you, which made
Just
my job easy.
Extension of promo work that you do.
Exactly, it felt like it, mate. I remember my first week. I had this. I won't say any names, but there was a business in Southwest Sydney that met me and hinted that they'd like to sponsor when they found out my role. They're big Parra fans, and I'm thinking, how good's this? I haven't even started yet. It's my first week. And I went, all right, no worries. I went and saw him, and he made me get there at 3:30, so after school hours. I don't understand why. And then he had all his nephews and nieces all lined up after school. It was a promo. I was there taking photos of everyone. And then when it came time to talk business, maybe not this year, but we'll talk about it next time. It's just gone.
Too smart.
Yeah.
But let's talk about your junior footy. Were you always a Parra boy? You played all your junior footy at Parra?
No. Not many people know, but I didn't start footy until I was 13, so I played soccer from 8 to 12.
Goalkeeper? Just covering the goals?
No, I was a striker, man. Leading goal scorer for a couple of years. But my body was too big for, I was more suited to league. I started my first year at a club called Twin Willows Warriors, which is in Bass Hill. So I was in the Canterbury comp. They started playing on Sunday when I turned 14, and the Parramatta comp still played on Saturday. So my parents, because they used to go to church on Sunday, they said, let's go to the Parra comp. Ended up at Guildford, which is the closest team to my house.
Yeah, Guildford Owls.
Guildford Owls, and ended up being in Parra Junior. So I signed there. I went there as a 14-year-old. That year got picked up by Parramatta, signed there, and then stayed there.
And you just went through ranks, Harold Matts, SG Ball.
Yeah, we had a strong age. So like our Harold Matthews team, we won like back-to-back premierships. We didn't lose a game for 2 years. So we had Jared Hayne, Trent Hodkinson, Chris Keating, Tony Williams,
Was Michael Jennings in there?
No, he was Penrith. Our age, but he played against us. So yeah, and they had a strong team too. Yeah, it was good.
Were you a Parra fan or Bulldogs fan?
Nah, I was a Doggies fan growing up, man. Like my cousins, even when I started playing for Parramatta, they'd ask for tickets to the Parra Dogs game. And they'd all come in their Dogs jerseys. And
When does that go away? When you play Mats, you stop becoming
yeah,
a fan?
no. When I signed with Parra, then I started like idolising the Nathan Kairouses and the High March because they were like wearing the colours that I was playing in. So I converted at a young age, but I still enjoyed the Dogs in that competition.
If they do well, you're happy.
Yeah. And And now that I've retired, I've got no emotional connection to anything. Like I can observe a lot easier. I've got a lot of friends that, the dogs I like, Jacob Kairouz I love. The CEO's a good fella. The chairman's a good guy. I'm really close with a whole bunch of guys at the club, so I really have a soft spot for them.
What age did you make your debut at for Parra?
So NRL, it was just after my 21st birthday.
2009.
So it was 2009, yeah. So
Wow.
I played 16s, 18s, 20s, and just like it couldn't have been a smooth run. And then I finished 20s, and the very next year, round one, I debuted.
Do you think nowadays you're seeing a lot more younger players being pushed to debut a lot earlier in the NRL? I mean, you debuted pretty early, right after 20s. Are you seeing it more accessible for younger people to start get a crack at first grade?
Yeah, but it's a young man's game now, because also you'll notice that guys aren't lasting as long as they used to. So, I'm 35 and I feel like I'm way too old for the sport. And whereas, there was a lot of 35 and 36. I think Gal played till he's about 48.
He was much older.
And then he boxed till he was 45.
Yeah. But it's a young man's game. So they're finishing earlier, but they're also starting earlier. And, it's a very fast-paced, energetic style of game, which I'm glad I'm not playing anymore.
When you started in the NRL, first season 2009, you guys go all the way to the grand final. Is that what you kind of expected going forward for your NRL career?
Yeah, right. Well, so I mentioned we won 2 Aaron Matthews grand finals. We made the grand final in flag, so 20s. We're always winning comps or thereabouts. My first year in NRL, we made the grand final. And I just thought, you know what, we'll make it again next year. It's okay, no big deal. And it was a very lean, ugly decade after that. So it's, it is what it is. But just the club went through a lot in that time. I think we had 4 different board changes, 6 different CEOs. I played under, 6 different coaches. Every coach comes in with a new mentality of who they think is a good player. So then they clean out a squad. They bring in new players, and we'll never able to build any stability. And
Who was the worst coach, Ricky Stewart?
I love Sticky. Parra fans don't like it when I say that, because obviously Parra fans have a bit of taste in them after Sticky. But so when my brother Johnny was sick, he was like coming to my parents' house and visiting, my parents and Johnny, and it was so like rock solid to our family throughout that stage. So he's our favourite in our family.
Yeah, good man. Talk us through that 2009 grand final year, because it was kind of a whirlwind of a year, because you guys didn't start off the year that well.
Yeah.
You were almost, you kind of just cracked the 8.
Yeah.
And then you went on a massive run into the finals off the back of the Hayne plane as well. Then you guys were just playing a bit more like ad-lib style of footy, a lot of offloads. You guys got a lot of permission to play free-flowing footy that year.
Yeah.
What was it like, that run to the grand final?
It was awesome, man. It was a good time. You got to give Daniel Anderson a lot of credit. The coach at the time, he came from England, and he had great success before he got to us. He got the Warriors to a grand final. He won like 3 Challenge Cups and I think a couple of Super Leagues over in England. So he knew how to win. And he came to us, and we spent the whole summer preparing a certain way of, like a certain style of play. And it obviously wasn't working. And to his credit, he kind of just scrapped that whole gameplay in the bin halfway through the year, so we're going to change it. And we just played a lot more free
call.
Yeah, it was a massive call. Like most coaches will wait to the end of the season and try it again the following year, but we completely changed mid-season. And we had a good crew. So we had to win. Like I think we were coming second last halfway through the year. And there was a stretch there where we couldn't afford to lose a game for the rest of the year. So every game was like a final win. And I think we won 8 or 9 in a row. And then the last round of the year was the first time all year we knew when the finals, whether we won or lost.
That's the Dragons.
And he figured out that whether we won or lost, we were playing the Dragons the next week anyway. Dragons had finished first, we were going to finish 8th, so it was like a big task. They were a good team. And it was a really weird week. That week, we didn't do any video. He didn't speak to us pre-game. The captain's run didn't talk to us. He pulled Hindy out, injured. It was just like a weird, like a preparation. And we got flogged that last game. And we came back in the sheds, and before we even left, he's like, all right, this one was on me. Next week, we're going to prepare to play. And it was like, before we even left the game, it was like, oh, we'll win next week. And that whole week, the Dragons were really cocky, and they thought that they were going to flog us again, and we came out and pulled their pants down.
Strategic,
Probably,
2 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
mate, that
Probably
was
one
really
of
good
the
coaching.
biggest upsets ever, considering like 8th versus 1st.
Yeah.
I think only like New Zealand Warriors have ever done that as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, against Melbourne?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was, like, honestly, it was good coaching, because it would have been hard to beat them 2 weeks in a row.
And that season playing with Hayne, do you still think that's probably one of the best individual seasons ever?
Yeah. Well, I know they talked about Turbo a couple of years ago, and like that was a pretty amazing stretch. But mate, Haynes, the audio was on that. Look, he had oppositions terrified. Like, so they were giving him so much time in the space because they were so scared of what he was going to do, which made him look even better. So like, it's just it was a good ride to be on, and he created a lot when there was nothing there.
Because I know Hayne 09, yellow boots, it's the best individual season ever, hands down.
Yeah.
And that's like, I don't know, maybe because I was a kid watching it, it's just like,
Yeah.
I wanted to buy those boots because of you.
You'll always remember it. And then obviously going to the grand final, I know some past players have talked about how they feel about, going up against the Melbourne Storm and then all the controversies that happened afterwards with the Melbourne Storm getting those points taken off them and the grand finals stripped away from them. I know Heine's commented on it. Have you ever spoken about how you felt, with them, allegedly cheating?
I get asked that a lot. I got no hard feelings. Like even if they gave it to us, it wouldn't feel the same. Like you want to win it, you want to experience the win and the emotions that go with the win the game. So like I didn't care they didn't hand us the trophy.
If they had said Parramatta awarded the premiership, would it have felt the same? You wouldn't have
Oh,
cared?
it would have been nice to have under your belt, but it wouldn't have felt the same.
Okay.
And I always joke around, but we got in trouble for cheating the salary cap and we got wooden spoon. So at least I did it well.
You think Parramatta, a lot of Lebos, they would have figured it out how to do it properly.
Yeah, so mate,
Too loud.
and you know what, they still had to. Like, it's one thing having a good team on paper and the big salary cap, but they've also had to win games. It was hard to do, so a lot of credit goes to them.
And then you finished your career, like I said, you kind of went through a tough decade with Parra. There was 3 wooden spoons there, a lot of chop and changing with the coaches. And then they go on to, feature in a grand final last year with Brad Arthur. You were coached by Brad Arthur. What were your feelings on Brad Arthur as a coach?
I think he's done a great job. Like to get him from, I think when he started, we were wooden spooners. So Ricky Stewart's year there, we ended up wooden spooners. He came in 14, Brad Arthur, and to get him from wooden spooners to grand final and a consistently competing side is really a huge effort. I think the Penrith grand final. I think Penrith taught us a bit of a lesson, which hopefully it goes in good stead for us in the next time round. But we're pretty fortunate to get there. Like, we end up getting to a grand final without having to beat Penrith, Melbourne, Roosters, South. None of the heavyweights went our way, so we had a nice smooth run.
And you gave them a fair crack. They always step up against Penrith.
Yeah,
But they had a fair shake in the grand final.
Yeah,
it was
so,
quite close.
But Penrith were too good.
Yeah.
I was probably being serious here.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was like I was on the sidelines commentating for SEN Radio, and I thought, it's going to be great. And then within 4 minutes, okay.
Game over early.
Yeah.
Then, you've moved on from your career into some media roles. Like you said, you've got your business degree, you're in finance. What's it like being in media post your career, almost stepping back and looking at all players objectively? Is it hard being a former player, having to comment on players nowadays?
No, I find it quite easy. It was harder when I was doing media. So when you're playing and you're on, Fox, and in your head you're thinking, don't say anything the coaches want you to say. Don't say anything that the players are going to get upset with. Don't piss off the opposition because then they'll fire up. And so you always and that's why you get such your bland answers, and players are just so robotic with their answers because there's so much things going through your head about making sure you don't say anything out of line.
Look at Moses Sulia just last week.
Yeah.
The poor bloke. He just gets caught slipping, and it's a media story.
But then when you retire, it's so liberating. You don't care. Like you just call it how it is, and then I sometimes have to remind myself when I was playing how sensitive I used to get, and sometimes I say things and people get upset with what I say. I'm like, what?
Has anyone ever reached out and said there was a shit take from you or not happy with what you said?
Yeah, my first ever year in media, I was at Fox, and they asked me about 10 minutes before we went to air, can you give us your top 8 for the year? This was before round 1. So I thought it's kind of like my 8. One of the teams I left out, I got a message from one of the guys there saying, you think we're gonna prove you wrong. They didn't prove me wrong, but
So you were right. Yeah.
I was right. But it's it's a lot of times you got to say something. You can't just be neutral and say nothing. So you got to have an opinion, and they ask you about this player or this team, and if you worry too much about saying the wrong thing, you won't have a job in media because no one wants to hear you just give that bland
opinions.
Do you enjoy media? Like, do you actually enjoy applying in rugby league?
I love it's an outlet. So I love that I can comment on sport and be connected to the league still without being consumed by it.
Yeah.
By the end of my career, I was so over the
Politics of it.
just the tahanak, all the other stuff that goes with it. Like when you're young playing footy, it's a dream. You're getting paid well. You're living like your best life. It's a great lifestyle. It's you're living your dream, which is awesome. And then I got made captain when I was 25. So the back end of my year, the second half of my year, you start seeing stuff that you didn't see as a kid. So when you're a kid, you're so innocent and you just loving footy. And then you start seeing all the other stuff that gets all the
Behind the scenes
behind the
type stuff.
scenes and agendas and people asking you to do things and pushing
Especially
you.
at Para, where the turnover of coaches, turnover of boards, like you said.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's
So,
not
and
easy.
every board or CEO will come on board and they start trying to like sell their pitch and this is why we're going to be different to the last one, and a new coach comes in and we're going to do things differently. This is what we're going to do, and so it's draining, man. So by the end of it, I was just happy to go. You know what?
Because when you retired, what was like 2019, you kind of played, I think, most of that season before Brad Arthur put you down to reserve grade?
Yeah, I don't know. I only played about half the year that year, but it was same thing, mate. Like as tough as it was to go through all that, like I've got enough friends now that have retired, and you know what? A lot of people have an ending that they don't find ideal, but it's sport and that's part of the.
Because I feel like you
ruthlessness.
kind of did deserve that Nathan Hindmarsh type send off, like having that big last game, but they never really gave that to you. Were you dirty about that or no?
Yeah, well, at the time, it was just such a confusing time. So like, there's a lot of things that go through your mind, and you get angry and upset, and you're like, you quickly remind yourself that there's more to life than what you're going through, and it's as frustrating as it is to go through it. I look back now, and even now, I talked about the start of the show about where I am post football. It never would have happened if I didn't get
Finished
then. So like everything happens for a reason, and now it's a lot easier to look back and go, oh, how awesome is it that worked out? But when you're going through a storm, sometimes it's hard to understand why and how and the reasons for it. But it's nice to come out the other side.
When you look at some career highlights for you, you played 4 games of Origin. Quite one of the biggest stages in rugby league. Played in a grand final. Is there anything that matches up to the intensity of an Origin game?
Origin's the pace and intensity. No, like nothing matches that. You talk about that 2009 one. That Bulldogs game was my favourite game I've been involved in, only because the atmosphere was so different to anything I've experienced. Were you guys there?
Probably.
So they
09,
they sold tickets for Bulldogs and Para on who you supported. So it came out of the tunnel. I've never experienced it before or after, but it was half the stadium was split blue and gold and blue and white.
Wow.
And because it was a close game, the whole time the atmosphere was just back and forth. It was just magic. So that was my favourite game. I scored my first try in that game. We went to a grand final week after, so it was like a really special night. Origin's good, but it goes so quick, man. Like it's like if you don't get yourself involved, the game just goes real quick.
Because is that what 2010 Game 3 you played? Was that a decider?
Yeah, so no, it was a dead rubber. So I was
dead
part
rubber.
of like a new batch of young guys.
The year
that got
after was the
butted.
decider.
Yes, then the year after we were winning game 1, and I thought we were gonna it was comfortable that game. And then the last 6 minutes, Lockyer sets up Billy Slater. They score a try and they steal victory. Game 2 we won, and then game 3 they beat us up in Queensland. But it was an awesome.
But did you know how to prepare for that game? Like you say, the intensity is going to be bigger. But having played NRL, played in the grand final at that point as well, were you still taken aback about how quick it was?
Yeah, yes and no. You're protected from everything. So you're in a bit of a bubble. So everyone's talking about the game outside that bubble and the hype, and everyone's excited for it. In that bubble, it's like a team camp. You wake up in the morning, have breakfast with the boys, go to training, come back. You're kind of protected from all the noise. And it's not until you actually, for me, it was singing the anthem. It's not until you actually get out there and sing the anthem, look around, oh, this is actually Origin, and it kind of sinks in. But yeah, the build up to it isn't as big in camp as you'd think it would be. Yeah.
Well, you talked about scoring your first try in that Bulldogs game in 2009. What would you say your welcome to NRL moment was as a kid debuting?
Well, that 2010, the year after, there was a game against Cowboys, and Matt Scott and I just went at it, just kept going for tit for tat. And when I made the State of Origin a few weeks later, Bellamy was saying that was a game that they picked me for because they liked that I stepped up to the Queensland enforcer. So that was a bit of a I got split that game, and it was just a really old school.
Which you two were just bashing each other.
Yeah, to be honest, at the time I wasn't doing it on purpose. But when you look back, we're just going bang bang. He'd run it, I'll hit him. He'd run it, he'd hit me. We just kept going back and forth, and it was good to know that people respected that because he was the best at the time, the best Queensland front row at the time. So I think everyone wanted to prove they can match it with him.
And then you go on to captain the Cedars in 2017. What was it like representing Lebanon? With a lot of teams like your Samoas and Pacific Island teams, really taking a big stage in more recent World Cups. Was that like an honour for you to kind of at that stage in your career captain Lebanon?
Yeah, no, I wasn't captain. So Robbie was captain. I loved it, man. It was the best experience. So
at least I'm a senior forward mostly.
Yeah. So, mate, we had a really good batch, and to be honest, Robbie deserves all the credit because we were probably guilty of the past of turning down Lebanon. Like at the end of the season, we always had the opportunity to play for Lebanon. Like, oh, but, then when you have 2 weeks off and we go back to training, so I'd say no and go on a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So I always had this guilt of saying no to Lebanon. And then 2017, Rob was like, no, we're playing the World Cup. We're doing it. So he called up all the key NRL players and said, no one's pulling out. We're doing this. And I'm so grateful he did because it was the best experience. Brad Fielder becomes coach. And you couldn't have picked a better suited personality and character for the Lebanese because Lebs, it can be hard work, man. Like
he meets all the drama.
Yeah, but like it just shakes. He shakes it. Nothing bothers him, So nothing got to him. If it was any other coach, they'd have eaten him alive. But he just was so good at handling him. He embraced the culture and the dancing and the music and the food, and he just became so supportive of the boys. And it was a really special 5 weeks.
And it did put Lebanon on the map. I mean, you guys, 2017 made that quarterfinal just losing to Samoa. That was awesome.
Dewey had his breakout
moment,
moment as well. Did you mentor any of the boys in that
So
2017 World Cup?
You know how Dewey debuted? So
Someone got injured in the warm-up.
So Sabi, I love Sabi, but he's been part of Lebanon for like 20 years. He's the pioneer.
He'd come out of the woodworks.
All those guys that were part of Lebanon, they got us that World Cup because all us bludger NRL players were taking weeks off instead of going to play against South Africa, and they were the ones that sacrificed to get the players into that World Cup. So we were kind of just piggybacking off the back of them. But Sabi, who was the captain of Lebanon for so long, this was his big moment in Canberra and in the warm-up, going running through the pads, gets hit by the pad, falls on his head, concussion. So he gets ruled out, and then Adam Dewey comes in as 18th man. So that's how Adam ended up, I think, scoring 1 or 2 tries and killing it for us. And from then on, it was another comeback.
That was awesome. Was it true that Robbie Farah tried to get you out of retirement for the most recent World Cup?
Yes. Yeah, I reckon he would have played. If he didn't get that Tigers coaching gig, I reckon he would have had to go at playing.
Did you weigh it up? Do you think, I still got it in me to go over to England?
Because they were pretty lean in the forwards. They could have
used you, Tim.
Something weird, when I retired, like overnight, something clicked in my brain. I just couldn't, the idea of playing just...
Never want to play again.
Watching the boys do contact, I'm like, how did I do that? Like, what was I thinking? So I've got no desire. Like, I know a lot of players now that are retired and they wish they could still play. I'm not one of those. I'm more than happy just to observe and comment about it.
We do this with most of our guests, a segment called Fill in the Blanks. So I'm going to say a sentence, blank, and I want you to give me a response. Don't have to think about it too much. First thing that comes to mind. Okay. Blank will win the comp this year.
I reckon Roosters.
Good pick.
Yeah. Fan favourites. As in favourites to win the comp.
I'm going to be a Roosters South grand final.
Wow, that'd be massive.
That'd be big, yeah.
Okay, blank. Blank is the best prop in the game right now.
Jared Rory-Hargraves.
Still.
I love him.
At his age.
Better than Payne Haas?
Me and Haynes argue about this. Haynes is a big fan of Payne Haas, but I love just what Jared does because it's not about his stats and numbers. It's about what he does to his team. And
that game he came off the bench
he's
a couple weeks ago.
He's
an
old school enforcer, and it's a dying breed. Like there's no more. Like even Payne Haas, he's an amazing player, but he's not that. He doesn't have what Jared's got. He's got a different ability and different skill set. He's very mobile and fast and athletic, but Jared's just got the ability to intimidate a team and just go out like.
Yeah, and I feel like he aims up for the big games too. Like you see, every time they play Souths, he's leading on the front foot. Matching the intensity.
He's an alpha male. And then what that does is it feeds off, so the rest of the team, they see him leading the way, and then they all grow a foot taller and they're all stronger. And
Blank will be the 2023 Dally M.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we've only had about 5 rounds. Hard to tell from now, but there's been some.
Kairouz is up there.
I'd love to see Kairouz do it. You know what? I'd probably see maybe Teddy.
Tedesco. Yeah. I'd say it's him or Cleary. It's their time to kind of snap
Cleary.
up.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I think either of them could win it.
Well, if Teddy stops slipping and getting concussed and doesn't have to miss 11 days, then,
You're right, though, because Cleary, without Coruscant and Kikau stealing points now, he's more likely to get more points. Yeah,
that's a fairly good point. And Para will come blank this year on the ladder.
I reckon 4th or 5th around there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Still got a lot of confidence in them. They've lost a few
They've had a tough start to the year. So they played some really tough competition. But you look at the next 6 weeks, they've got with all due respect to the things ahead of them, they've got a nice 6 weeks coming up. So they can get back on track pretty quickly if they aim up. Yeah.
Nice 6 weeks, starting with the West Tigers this week, Easter Monday. What's your prediction for that game? 13+ Eels?
Yeah, I think so. I've got friends that, obviously Robbie Farah's a good mate of mine, so like I'd love to see Tigers get back on track, but I can't see them winning this week. So I think.
Where do you think it's gone wrong for the Tigers? I know, Alex Twal's playing in that team. He's a good friend of yours as well. Where do you think they're going wrong?
I think that they're lacking a few they got Clemmer and John Bateman now, but I was going to say like some old school hard heads. Like we're talking about Hargreaves, that kind of leaders in your forwards.
He's off contract. They could sign him.
Yeah.
They did go after Mitchell Pearce with a text. Didn't work out. But it is. It's tough to watch.
They can turn around. Like, man, no one gave them a chance last year against Para. And Jack Hastings, Jackson Hastings does that field goal and wins them the game. So, and that's probably Para's Achilles heel. Like when everyone expects them to win, they probably don't play their best. Against Penrith, when no one gives them a chance, they surprise everyone. But those games where you expect to win, we can kind of struggle sometimes. But I don't think Para lose this week.
Now I want to know: have you signed the petition for the Twal one? For when he gets his first try in the NRL, we're all allowed to storm the field.
I'm wearing the T-shirt.
Because you're at the stadiums most of the time.
Yeah.
If you're not doing your food reviews in the
they asked me for your unmissable highlights. So like on SEN Radio, we did a prediction of what the highlight's going to be. And I said for the rest of every Tigers game I do, my unmissable highlight's going to be Twaley's try until he scores the try.
Like I said. And like your work in media, like you said, you're working with SEN on the radio. You work with Fox. What's the outlook for you? Do you want to continue? Yeah, because there's not a lot of Lebos in the media. We spoke about it.
I thought
you're flying the flag for us. Do you want to continue kind of building that presence in the media as an ex-player?
Like I said, it's a great out. I love being able to be connected to sport without being consumed. Like, I could never be a coach. I could never be that consumed by the sport. But I love that connection. The media is a great outlet for that. If I'm being honest, this finance business I'm in, lending association, that's a real big passion of mine. Like we're growing it. We've got plans to make it a really special business. So I've put a lot of energy into that. But I do, and the media thing goes hand in hand. I think having that platform also allows my finance job to go well as well, because people are a lot warmer to you and I saw what you said yesterday on Fox and so,
networking, who you meet.
Yeah, exactly. So and I love it. Do I have plans to be
Cooper Cronk or Brave Host and 360?
I've got a good head for radio. I don't think I'll ever have that kind of career, but I do enjoy the part I do play. Yeah.
Going back to the Tigers, it was rumoured in 2019 that you were going to sign with the Tigers. Is that true, or did you just say no because that was shit?
Did you have any plans of signing with another club, or were you always going to be a one club?
No, that's true. I actually never speak about it. Never. This is. I won't go into too much detail, but yeah, pretty much the club gave me permission to go and see someone before June 30th, and I didn't want to leave. And after a week or two of making it clear that I wasn't welcome at that club at Para anymore, I thought, I better take it up. So I ended up reaching out. Tigers, we had a deal there, and I agreed to do it. And when it was time, the crunch time, Para kind of changed the goalpost and said, "Oh, it was a misunderstanding. We didn't mean you can." So
what a blessing.
Yeah,
it worked out well.
You dodged the bullet there.
Yeah. I'm glad I got to stay a one club man, and but I was very grateful. Like Michael Maguire was. And to this day, I've got so much respect for him. The way he handled it, he was so respectful of me and my family, and it was just a breath of fresh air during a time where I was really, really struggling to understand what was happening. He was just a really, reliable guy to speak to, and I was really grateful. Robbie was actually playing a bit of part in the background as well. He's the one that set up, managed to give me a call, but
what
I got a lot of respect for him.
What could have been? You could have changed the whole Tigers franchise. I never know.
I don't think I could have helped. I don't think I could have helped at all. But I've got and the older you get, the more connections you have at every club. Like I've got a lot of mates and some really good mates at the Tigers as well. And I'd love to see them turn around, because there's really good people there that deserve to have some success. I
could agree with you. And I want to finish on this. You do a lot of charitable work as well. You got the Mannah Foundation. What's your work? With the Mannah Foundation, obviously when the Mannah Cup comes, you guys raise some funds and you give away money to your charity of choice. What's your work like in that field? Yeah, so the foundation was really started just as a vehicle to help. We were raising money from the Johnny Mannah Cup, and we're just supporting local charities. Mm-hmm. So now we kind of do less through the Mannah Foundation, just go directly to the charities that we're passionate about. Compassion Australia is a big one that we love supporting. And I took Christian Walsh and Ryan Pappenhausen over to Uganda to see some of the work there, which is they do some amazing work.
But there's so many like really good like organisations. I know another one that we're pretty passionate about is the I Forgive Cup that when Para play the Bulldogs, Danny Abdullah and Layla Abdullah, their family have started a really special initiative, and I love that. Both clubs are supporting it, and that's another one that I really enjoy getting behind. But there's a lot of people doing some amazing work out there, and it's just good that we can use our platform to help people be aware of it.
Well, Tim Mannah, I really appreciate your time. Keep flying the flag for us Lebs where you can. I love
Cheers,
hearing
mate.
you on radio, seeing you on TV, but what you're doing off the field is awesome, Nate. I really appreciate your time, and you're a stand-up bloke.
Thank you.
mate.